there comes a moment in life when love no longer needs to hide. Not because the world has earned the truth, but because the heart has finally found the courage to share it. Some journeys are meant to stay private until the right time arrives. They grow quietly through trust, patience, and countless unseen moments. Today isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about honoring a promise, celebrating a bond that has remained strong through silence, and opening a new chapter with gratitude instead of fear. So, if you've ever believed that real love is built in the quiet moments, stay with me, because today, for the very first time, I can finally reveal my wife's face. For a long time, our story belonged only to us. It wasn't hidden because we were ashamed. It wasn't hidden because we wanted mystery. It was protected because some of the most beautiful things in life grow stronger when they are allowed to exist without constant attention from the outside world. People often believe that love becomes more real when everyone can see it. I learned something different. Love becomes stronger when two people continue choosing each other, even when no one is watching. The quiet conversations, the ordinary mornings, the laughter over things nobody else would understand, the moments of silence that never felt empty, those became the true foundation of our relationship. There were countless opportunities to share everything. The world encourages us to post every celebration, every smile, every important milestone. Sometimes that can be wonderful, but we asked ourselves a simple question: who are we doing this for? If the answer was ever anything other than each other, we waited. Waiting taught us patience. Patience taught us trust. Trust taught us peace. When two people decide that protecting their relationship is more important than proving it, something remarkable begins to happen. The opinions of strangers become quieter. Expectations lose their power. Comparison slowly disappears. What remains is something honest. We never measured our relationship by how many people approved of it. We measured it by the way we showed up for each other on difficult days, by the way we listened before speaking, by the way we apologized when pride wanted to win, by the way we celebrated small victories that nobody else even noticed. There is a strange kind of freedom that comes from knowing your happiness doesn't depend on public recognition. That freedom changed us. It reminded us that love isn't built during perfect moments. It's built during imperfect ones, during the evenings when life feels heavy, during unexpected disappointments, during seasons where hope has to be chosen again and again. Some days we laughed until we forgot what time it was. Some days we sat quietly because words weren't enough. Both days mattered equally. People often ask what makes a relationship last. It isn't perfection. It isn't constant excitement. It isn't dramatic promises. It's consistency. It's choosing kindness when frustration feels easier. It's choosing understanding before judgment. It's remembering that the person standing beside you is not your opponent. Every challenge became another opportunity to grow instead of another reason to walk away. We discovered that love isn't about finding someone who never changes. It's about choosing to grow together through every change. The person I met is not exactly the same person standing beside me today, and neither am I. Life reshapes us. Experience softens us. Failure humbles us. Forgiveness strengthens us. The beautiful part is deciding that every new version of each other is still worth loving. That decision doesn't happen once. It happens every day, sometimes quietly, sometimes through sacrifice, sometimes through simple acts that nobody applauds. There were moments when protecting our peace meant saying no to attention, moments when silence became an act of love, moments when privacy wasn't distance. It was respect. We didn't disappear from the world. We simply chose not to let the world define our relationship. That choice gave us something incredibly valuable. Time to understand each other's fears. Time to learn each other's dreams. Time to become partners instead of performers. The strongest relationships rarely compete for attention. They compete only with yesterday's version of themselves. Each day they ask one question: how can we love each other a little better than we did before? Sometimes the answer is listening. Sometimes it's forgiveness. Sometimes it's simply staying. Staying when life becomes uncertain. Staying when plans change. Staying when circumstances become difficult. Because commitment is most meaningful when it continues beyond convenience. Love isn't proven by grand announcements. It's proven by ordinary faithfulness, repeated over thousands of ordinary days. One conversation, one smile, one sacrifice, one patient response, one shared dream, again and again. Eventually, those ordinary moments become an extraordinary life together. That was always our goal. Not attention, not admiration, not applause. Just a life built carefully, honestly, and patiently, quiet day at a time. Privacy was never a wall between us and the world. It was a garden where our love could grow without being stepped on. In a time when every moment seems to demand an audience, we chose something different. We chose to let our relationship breathe. We chose to keep the most meaningful parts of our journey untouched by opinions, expectations, and constant attention. People often confuse privacy with secrecy. They think if you don't show everything, you're hiding something. But there is a difference. Secrecy is built on fear. Privacy is built on respect. We respected what we had too much to place it in the hands of strangers who only saw a few seconds of our lives, but believed they understood the whole story. There were days when sharing everything would have been easy. A photograph, a celebration, a simple announcement. It would have satisfied curiosity for a moment. But we asked ourselves another question. Would it make our relationship stronger? If the answer was no, then there was no reason to rush. The truth is, the happiest moments of our lives rarely happened in front of a camera. They happened during quiet mornings when we laughed over coffee, during long walks where no one recognized us, during evenings filled with conversations that will never exist anywhere except in our memories. Those moments became priceless because they belonged only to us. Love doesn't become valuable because the world witnesses it. It becomes valuable because two people continue protecting it every single day. There were seasons when life tested us in ways no one else could see. We experienced uncertainty. We faced disappointment. We carried responsibilities that nobody knew about. During those moments, attention from the outside wouldn't have helped us. What helped us was trust. Trust that we could lean on each other without needing approval from anyone else. Sometimes love is loud. Sometimes love is incredibly quiet. Neither is more real than the other. The quiet kind simply teaches different lessons. It teaches patience instead of performance. It teaches understanding instead of assumption. It teaches that presence matters more than appearance. The world often celebrates dramatic gestures, but relationships survive because of ordinary kindness. A gentle word after a difficult day, a smile when hope feels distant, a hand reaching out without needing to say anything at all. Those simple moments built something stronger than public admiration ever could. We learned that not every chapter of life needs to be shared while it's happening. Some chapters become more meaningful after they've had time to shape us. Growth often happens in silence. Healing often happens in silence. Real commitment often grows in silence too. Silence gave us room to become ourselves. It allowed us to make mistakes without feeling judged. It allowed us to forgive without an audience. It allowed us to celebrate victories that no one else even noticed. Looking back, I don't regret the time we stayed private. I don't regret the unanswered questions. I don't regret choosing peace over attention. Because every day we protected our relationship, we were building something that couldn't be measured by views, headlines, or opinions. We were building trust. trust that remained steady when life became uncertain, trust that became stronger with every challenge we overcame together, trust that reminded us every single day that love is not something you perform. Love is something you live, and sometimes the greatest expression of love isn't revealing everything. Sometimes it's knowing exactly what deserves to remain sacred until the right moment arrives. There comes a moment in every journey when fear no longer gets to make the decisions. It doesn't disappear overnight. It doesn't suddenly lose its voice. But one day you realize it has become quieter than your faith. And that is the day everything begins to change. For a long time, fear whispered that staying hidden was safer. It told us that people would judge what they didn't understand. It reminded us how quickly opinions are formed and how slowly they disappear. It suggested that protecting our peace meant never opening the door at all. But fear has an interesting way of disguising itself as wisdom. Sometimes it tells you to wait when you're actually ready. Sometimes it convinces you that one more day, one more month, or one more year will somehow make the perfect moment appear. The truth is, perfect moments rarely arrive on their own. They are created when courage finally speaks louder than doubt. We didn't wake up one morning completely fearless. We simply became tired of allowing fear to decide what our future would look like. There is a quiet strength that grows inside you after facing enough uncertainty. You begin to understand that life cannot be controlled. People will always have opinions. Some will celebrate you, others will criticize you. A few will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you explain yourself. Once you accept that, something remarkable happens. You stop living for everyone's approval. You start living according to your own values. That kind of freedom cannot be given by anyone else. It comes from within. We learn that courage is not about making the loudest announcement. It is about making the most honest decision. Sometimes courage looks like taking a single step forward while your heart is still racing. Sometimes courage means trusting the people who truly know you, instead of worrying about those who never will. Every challenge we faced taught us something valuable. Every difficult season reminded us that fear grows strongest when we imagine the future instead of living in the present. The present was where our love existed. The present was where our promises mattered. The present was where we found the strength to continue. As time passed, we realized that our story was never meant to be controlled by fear. It was meant to be guided by love. Love gave us patience when fear demanded urgency. Love gave us peace when fear created noise. Love reminded us that the people who genuinely care about us would see our happiness before anything else. And those who chose judgment over understanding were never carrying our story to begin with. Freedom is not the absence of uncertainty. Freedom is choosing to move forward even when uncertainty remains. That realization changed everything. It allowed us to stop hiding behind maybe someday. It encouraged us to embrace the life we had carefully built together, because at the end of the day, fear only has the power we continue to give it. The moment we stopped asking fear for permission, we discovered something far greater waiting on the other side. We discovered peace. We discovered confidence. We discovered that the strongest relationships are not defined by the absence of fear, but by the courage to keep choosing each other despite it. For so many people, a face is the first thing they notice. It's the first impression, the first image, the first memory. But love has never worked that way for me. Long before I could describe someone's appearance, I had already fallen in love with the way they made the world feel lighter. I had already found comfort in their presence, strength in their kindness, and peace in their heart. The world often teaches us to admire what is visible. We celebrate beauty that can be photographed, filtered, and displayed, yet the most meaningful parts of a person can never be captured by a camera. Compassion cannot be measured by a picture. Loyalty cannot be seen in a portrait. Patience has no perfect angle. Character has no filter. Those are the things that truly last. As time passed, I realized that every beautiful memory we created had very little to do with appearances. The moments that stayed with me were never about how we looked. They were about how we cared for each other when life became difficult. They were about the quiet conversations after long days, the laughter that arrived without warning, and the comfort of knowing that someone believed in me even when I struggled to believe in myself. That is where love lives, not in perfection, not in appearances, but in unwavering presence. There were seasons when life demanded more strength than either of us expected. Plans changed, dreams evolved, challenges appeared without invitation. Through every chapter, one truth remained the same. We never stopped choosing each other. That choice became more beautiful than any photograph ever could, because real love is not built by extraordinary moments alone. It is built by ordinary days repeated with extraordinary commitment. A smile before leaving home, a reassuring hand during uncertain times, a gentle voice after a difficult day, a silent understanding when words are unnecessary. These are the moments that quietly shape a lifetime together. People often search for the perfect person, believing happiness begins when they finally find someone without flaws. But no one is without flaws. Love begins when two imperfect people decide that understanding is more important than perfection. We both made mistakes. We both learned difficult lessons. We both changed over time, yet every season gave us another opportunity to become kinder, wiser, and more patient with one another. That is the kind of beauty that never fades. Physical appearance changes with time. Youth becomes maturity. Moments become memories. But a generous heart grows richer with every act of kindness. A faithful soul becomes stronger with every promise it keeps. A loving spirit becomes more beautiful with every sacrifice it willingly makes. That is the beauty I fell in love with. That is the beauty I continue to choose. When people finally see her face, they may admire her smile or notice her eyes. They may comment on what they see in a single moment, but I have had the privilege of knowing the person behind that smile. I have witnessed the quiet courage that no photograph can capture. I have experienced the compassion that no camera can fully reveal. I have seen the resilience that shines brightest when no one else is watching. That is the face I recognized long before the world ever could. Because love was never about revealing someone's appearance. It was always about discovering their heart. And once you truly know someone's heart, every smile becomes more meaningful. Every glance carries deeper understanding, and every ordinary day becomes another reminder that the greatest beauty in this world has always lived far beyond what the eyes can see.